Coming up on this episode of Freedom from Fire, we have our Commissioner, Adam Teal, here today. He will highlight and summarize the Philadelphia Fire Department for the year 2019 and, of course, put a spotlight on our progress. We'll share a little bit of statistical data and offer some at-a-glance information. Then later in the show, we'll learn about a fairly new office within the PFD, what they do, and the need for this very vital role. Hello, and welcome back to Freedom from Fire. I will be your host, Lieutenant Lisa Desamore. I'm currently stationed in our department's Fire Prevention Division, where community risk reduction efforts are a primary goal. Here at Freedom from Fire, we aim to improve your quality of living by giving you fire and life safety information. We also introduce you to our local safety partners. There is so much happening in the Philadelphia Fire Department, so we'll try to highlight as much as we can. PFD members are dedicated to saving lives and protecting property. We've responded to a total of over 49,000 incidents in 2019. This includes everything from stuck elevators, building fires, extricating victims from car incidents. We also operated 50 ambulances 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with an additional 10 ambulances during peak times when call volume is pretty high. And medical responses were up nearly 1.2%. Total EMS incidents for the past year were almost 275,000. Philadelphia is ranked clearly then as busiest ambulance service in the nation. This is just a tip of the iceberg. Let's bring out our Commissioner, Adam Teal, to discuss in a bit more detail what has happened and what we have to look forward to. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Lisa.
Of course. It's pretty cool having you here as a guest, so thank you again.
It's great having you here as a host.
Thank you. So to begin, I put a highlight on some pretty staggering numbers. Are there any other additional numbers for the fiscal year that we can talk about, fiscal year 2019, or do you want to add on to what we already discussed?
No, that's great, actually. A few other numbers to think about are dispatchers, who are some of our real unsung heroes in the fire department.
Definitely.
Actually receive almost 400,000 calls for service every year. That was our number for fiscal year 2019. Okay. So very busy, the first of the first responders. You heard that those incidents sort of turn into roughly 50,000 fire-related incidents and another 275,000 emergency medical services incidents. So the men and women of the Philadelphia Fire Department are among the busiest in the nation. Of course, we have the busiest ambulance in the nation right here in Philadelphia. The other thing we have is we almost had 5,000 structure fires here in the city in fiscal year 2019. So that's an average of 13 a day. And that leads us right into what we're always talking about on this show, and a lot of the work that you and the dedicated members of our Fire Prevention Division are doing 24/7. Fire is everyone's fight, and we really need everyone's help preventing fires in the first place, being careful with cooking, heating, open flames, electrical, and of course discarding smoking materials properly. We want folks to close before they doze, make sure they close those doors. And of course, always, you hear this on our show every month, if you need a smoke alarm, 311, and
Absolutely.
Again, our members will be out to install those, and we can do that 24/7, 365 as well.
Absolutely. I think it's kind of cool, though, that we actually get the opportunity to highlight the numbers, because I don't think the citizens here in Philly realize those are the numbers. That's the call volume. Those are the incidents per day. So when you put it into perspective, people start to understand.
It's also important to understand our outcomes. So for calendar year 2019, the year we just ended, we had almost 3,000 residents of Philadelphia who were burned out of their homes in structure fires. We had almost 38 Philadelphians die in residential fires. And again, that's extremely tragic, almost 200 people hospitalized in the burn centers. So, and we transported 206,000 patients to local hospitals. So again, we are all about protecting the lives and property of our residents, businesses, and visitors. And again, we need your help, because believe me, the men and women of the Philadelphia Fire Department are doing their absolute best. We see them making rescues almost every day, installing smoke alarms absolutely every day. We just need everybody's help, because remember that fire is everyone's fight.
Absolutely. And this leads me right into my next question. When we talk about help, we think of resources, and from resources, we kind of think numbers and money. So I'm aware that we've received a substantial amount in grant funds. Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. I want to certainly first say that most of our funding, the vast majority of our funding, actually comes from taxpayers here in the city. So we are a locally funded public operation, and we definitely are committed to our mission and helping anybody and everybody, regardless of whether or not you can pay. We don't check. So please, if ever you have an emergency or ever you have a question, call 911. And if you need a smoke alarm, call 311. But never hesitate to call. We do get some grants, some federal grants. We were fortunate last year we were able to get a federal grant where we purchased and then installed almost 50,000 smoke alarms. And many of those were the traditional kind of beep, beep, beep smoke alarms everybody knows. Some of those were adaptive smoke alarms for folks who are hearing impaired. So we were fortunate to have that grant. Another grant that we got was a port security grant to purchase a new, what we call a fast fire rescue boat.
Okay.
And we have another one of those that's actually being built right now. We also got some significant grants for training, to train our workforce in fireground survival. Again, we know that unfortunately, over the past few years, we've had 5 Philadelphia firefighters who, perished in the line of duty. One of the, and then even before that, actually this was a recommendation out of the report on the tragic death of Lieutenant Joyce Craig. Some really critical fireground survival, basically training our firefighters how to get out of fires.
Correct.
When things go bad. So we did that. I did that too. That was a great training activity.
Absolutely was.
And then we're doing some incident command training that we'll talk about a little bit, and also we're getting ready to launch a fire dynamics training effort again. We know a lot more about how fires work today than we used to back when I started out in this business, thanks to computers and some very dedicated researchers. So I'm thankful that our administrative staff have gotten really good at getting those federal grants. But again, I want everybody to remember that we are your Philadelphia Fire Department.
Absolutely. We've had quite a few cadet classes come through the academy more recently. With so many new firefighters now, how has that impacted our department?
That was actually one of our largest grants that
Okay.
is ongoing, which was a grant, what they call a federal SAFER grant, Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response, that allowed us to put 121 new firefighters on the street in November. And we were able to use some of those firefighters to actually restore 4 fire engines that were closed in the recession of 2008 and 2009. That's really a core service. The fire engine is the one that carries the water to put out the fire. We have ladder companies, they do important work too. Of course, our medics and EMTs are very dedicated and among the busiest in the nation. That grant, and again, most of that, it's about 50-50. About 50% of the cost of those firefighters comes from city dollars, about 50% for the first 3 years comes from the federal government. But we were very fortunate to be able to restore that capability.
Okay.
And now those new firefighters, we have another class of almost 70 that's in the academy now.
Okay.
And some of that is replacing, for retirements and other reasons, we lose about 10 firefighters a month, firefighters and paramedics about a dozen.
Okay.
So we're always having to replace that workforce, and it takes 9 months to get through the fire academy. So we're always having to think ahead, and that is changing the profile of our department, though. We're a relatively young fire department, so we have a lot of folks. Now, there is no age limit. Of our last cadets, we had folks ranging all the way up to 60 years old who'd always wanted to be firefighters who joined our force. So we want people to definitely be thinking about the Philadelphia Fire Department as a career. again, in all those different roles that I've mentioned. And we're excited to have these new firefighters, and really they're all firefighter EMTs actually. They all provide emergency medical care as well. We're very excited to have them out in the line as our brothers and sisters.
Awesome. So you briefly actually mentioned a few moments ago when we talked about, or rather when you talked about the new boat. Give me a little bit more detail about that, and then I take note that we have a heavy rescue apparatus, something new.
Yes, we actually, again, those the fast boats I mentioned are to complement the existing boats. We have larger boats that actually are designed for shipboard fires. We do have a busy seaport here. We have a lot of traffic through, up and down the Delaware River. And along the Schuylkill, we have industry along the Schuylkill. So our big fire boats are actually used to pump large volumes of water during shipboard firefighting efforts, which is another grant I didn't mention. We're doing shipboard firefighting training to complement that, again, courtesy of a port security grant. And then we have our technical rescue capability, our Rescue 1, our Special Operations Command, which is that Rescue 1 and two of our fire companies, Squad 47 and Squad 72. These are the folks who comprise our nationally renowned Pennsylvania Task Force 1, which is a joint effort with FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. So they travel all around the country providing that technical rescue capability. These are people who are trapped in trenches or at heights or elevator rescues and things like that. Structural collapses, again, another thing we deal with here in Philadelphia. Their vehicle, their very large specialized vehicle, had not been replaced in about a dozen years. So we were fortunate this year, and again, this is through city dollars, that we were able to replace their vehicle. And they really did need something new. It's a very busy company. Again, we have a lot of demand for that with all of the fires and collapses that we have in the city.
That is great. I didn't realize that it had been that much time since heavy rescue. So that's great. That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about EMS. Can you summarize EMS for 2019 for us?
Well, I guess the summary is that our medics and EMTs and firefighter EMTs are absolutely the busiest and the best in the business. And the national statistics bore that out. We had a medic unit that did more than 10,000 runs in 2019, which is, it's unbelievable.
It is.
And I mentioned we transported those 260,000 patients. Those are people who are in our care. Again, these folks are incredibly dedicated. We're glad that we've been able to add additional resources. We added in fiscal year 2019, and then moving into fiscal year 2020, another 5 peak time medic units. So now we have that 60 on the street during the day, during our peak hours, and that actually goes into the nighttime, and it's 7 days a week because we are so busy. I'm really gratified about that. And the other thing that we've been able to do is pilot some very innovative service delivery concepts with our Alternative Response Unit 1, which sort of serves it's a partnership with Penn Public Safety, and it is serving the University City area, largely the Penn campus. And that is actually saving us incidents that are, that's letting us keep our medic units available in West Philly to deal with the, other incidents that might arise. We can deal with lower acuity incidents with this Alternative Response Unit. And then we're piloting AR2, which is Alternative Response Unit 2, which is in the Kensington, largely the Kensington area, and is really working to not just help revive people and save lives who are dealing with opioid addiction disorder, but also to get them into treatment. And we've had some great success with that. Again, those are innovative programs that are really quickly becoming national models, started right here in Philadelphia by our dedicated EMS providers.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Now let's direct our attention to OEM, Office of Emergency Management. What are some changes that have taken place?
Well, you can see I brought my hat because I'm literally wearing a couple different hats now. I'm also the Director of Emergency Management for the City of Philadelphia. We have a very dedicated group of individuals who largely work behind the scenes, our Office of Emergency Management staff, about 30 folks, and they're the ones who actually handle all of the preparedness and the planning and the response recovery to large disasters or major incidents. They also do a lot with special events. So these are a lot of the folks who were behind the scenes doing planning, whether it was during the aftermath of the refinery explosion, other major incidents that we've had. Of course, we just had the tragic incident on South 8th Street in South Philly. Those OEM folks are there behind the scenes, and they're also out there really out front providing recovery services and helping link together residents who need help with the whole constellation of other entities, our partners that you mentioned at the beginning, whether that's Red Cross, Red Paw Emergency Relief, our second alarmists who take care of us, the Salvation Army. So they really are the critical link a lot of times during that recovery phase of an incident.
They are, and I think it's amazing that we've been able to make such a great connection with them because of that. So let's conclude with ICS, Incident Command Training, which I, of course, took part in. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, that's another grant-funded program that we, again, got a grant from the Federal Emergency Management Agency. This was another recommendation. It's been a repeated recommendation for us in some of the after-action reviews of our incidents where we've lost firefighters in the line of duty. And this is basically the way that it might look like it's random when you see us managing an incident, but the truth is it really is a carefully choreographed and very highly managed operation to extinguish a fire or deal with a hazardous materials emergency or a mass casualty incident in EMS. This grant's going to allow us to put all of our operational personnel through, has allowed us to we're pretty much done, put them through a 2 to 3 day experience where they're doing simulations. And we all, I think probably everybody who's watching has played a video game at some point. And these folks, and again, this is largely, we got some outside expertise to help us build this, but this was largely built by our subject matter experts in the Philadelphia Fire Department. Very proud of them. So they set up a very robust training capability, and I think from everybody I've heard that the training is getting rave reviews.
It is. I wasn't initially sure of what to expect, but day one it was like, okay, this is needed, this is relevant and informational, educational, and I enjoyed it. It was definitely needed.
Good.
Commissioner, thank you so much. You covered a lot of information in a short amount of time, so thank you very much for taking the time with us today. We're going to take a short break, but when we return, we'll hear about a new office in the Philadelphia Fire Department and learn how it's improving our work in the field. Stay tuned.
Wake each morning and get lost in the adventure, knowing that you will be ready for wherever the day takes you. Learn from those willing to teach. Their wisdom and their strength will become yours. They will impart to you a tradition of education nationally recognized for its value. A tradition worthy of your best efforts. As young men and women of LaSalle, we will invest in you the guidance to blaze your own path. To go forth into the unknown with new certainty. To realize your full potential as professionals, as leaders, as citizens. To take up your place as the accountants, speech therapists, journalists, and CEOs of your generation. To impact this city and the world beyond. These adventures are yours, and you are ready for them. Explorers are never lost.
Welcome back to Freedom from Fire. I'm your host, Lieutenant Lisa Desamore. It was the vision of our commissioner to have uniformed members provide operational assistance and guidance during field operations to our dispatch personnel in FCC, which is our Fire Communications Center. It's sort of like having subject matter experts present with field experience, of course, that allows for a collective effort with dispatchers and their supervisor to effectively monitor all aspects of an incident. So to get an even better understanding of this position, let's now introduce Battalion Chief Peter Crespo, who is currently assigned to the affectionately called UCLO's office, Uniform Liaison Communications Officer. Thank you so much, Chief, for being here with us today.
You're welcome.
I certainly appreciate it.
No problem.
Typically with my guests, I open up with introduction of who you are. So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm a battalion chief for the fire department, obviously. 16 years with the department. Okay. Currently assigned to the UCLO, affectionately called, right? Uniform Communication Liaison Officer. Okay. We monitor and listen to the radio traffic at the FCC level, and we're the technical experts, if you will, in case a question arises.
Okay, so before we get into more specifics, before you got to the UCLO's office, where were you at?
Well, I was assigned at different assignments throughout the city.
Okay.
I've been assigned to an engine, ladder, at lieutenant level, the captain level. I was a part of special operations as well, the hazmat unit. So I've been around a little bit. I've been pretty fortunate.
So you know a thing or two about a thing or two.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So you come with some pretty seasoned experience to the UCLO's office.
Yeah, I would like to. We can always do better, but yes.
Okay.
To some regards.
Okay. So because you are monitoring fire department activities or incidents, have you ever, or do you offer advice or guidance about the technical aspects of dispatching or call taking?
So we do. That's kind of myself and the other battalion chiefs that are assigned down there. We provide that technical aspect of it if a question arises. We don't guide or suggest what dispatchers say or do, because that's their wheelhouse, if you will. You know, they have certification and training, and then we come in and wherever we're needed, we provide operational field assistance and guidance for that.
Okay, all right, so that definitely provides clarity on that. Mm-hmm. What are the primary objectives of your office?
So just to anticipate any of the department's needs, field operation needs, just to fill the voids, even if it's as something as small as a miscommunication or more misinformation, because they're tied up with the fire and tactical and medical bands, the medical and the fire bands. So the tactical side is more relative to what we provide.
Okay, so I'm sure there are specific responsibilities, various duties. Tell us the various duties that are associated with your office.
So there's several duties. The biggest things are just communication, as our title says, right? Uniform communications. So we relay a lot of information back to the executive staff.
Okay.
So if anything was to occur, like an explosion or something that they just need to hear about right away, since the first of the first responders or the dispatchers, they get the information. We're down there, we disseminate it up to them, keep them posted on what we're doing. And then the chief officers in the field. If an accident happens, a member gets injured, and then the field personnel, if they have questions or issues, they can call us, and then we'll provide them with any information they need. And then just subject matter experts.
Okay.
You know,
so definitely there was the need for this particular position in our department. You believe that, correct?
Yeah, because it fills that gap or that void, if you will. You know, that's why in our title we're the liaison between dispatch and the department. So it just helps the communicational lines stay open.
Okay. So can you give us some examples of any interventions, if that's a good word to use, made by the UCLO's office?
Yeah, so they're usually minor, you know, because there is protocol and procedure set in place, but it can be like if an engine has to be redispatched or reassigned to a special operations component, a RIT ladder, rapid intervention team ladder, has to be moved, you know, things like that, just communication mainly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you believe, or should I say, do you think, well, I guess I could say do you believe, because I'm sitting here with you.
All right.
In your opinion, do you believe that the UCLO's office works well with FCC?
Oh, definitely, absolutely.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're a true liaison, so it just works well, you know. They have their protocol and procedures, and then sometimes we have to freelance and make some calls, but we work well together.
Okay.
Teamwork, common goals.
Teamwork, common goals,
Yeah.
also famously known in the PFD, adapt and overcome.
Very much so.
And because it's such a new office, it's still, I'm sure, pretty much a learning experience for you and the other battalion chiefs.
Yeah,
as
it's
well.
very fluid and dynamic and ever-changing, but we work well together, and we're making it work.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have any personal experience in the UCLO's office as far as interventions are concerned? Or any near misses, if that makes sense, associated with
not on my level, like at where I'm at, yeah, but you know, we've had avoided some issues, and everything is just communication and just trying to keep you know, just the experience that's down there and making sure that the department's needs are being resolved.
Okay.
Yeah.
And to kind of backtrack a little bit, you previously mentioned, you know, about their wheelhouse. So that was kind of cool. I like the way that you referenced that, because basically it was like they have a specific, you know, job, they
Yes.
have their role, and you have yours, which I'm assuming then, because you guys work so well together, it's a seamless integration. Does that make sense?
Yeah, very much so, because they've been doing it for a long time before us,
Right.
us being the new unit, but now we're kind of coexisting and just formulating just a better role, and where they can utilize us, we can share information and just kind of guide them. You know, a lot of jargon is discussed on the radio, and there's a process and a procedure. You know, there's the incident command structure. As incidents grow, so does the resources needed.
Okay.
So sometimes they might not know the levels of that. The inexperienced ones, the experienced dispatchers do know, but regardless of level of experience, it's just sometimes we can all miss something. So it's just good that that we're all there together working together.
So it's an ideal environment, ideal in that although I'm pretty sure it can be stressful at times, you guys make that an environment where communication does try to go as best as possible.
Yeah, very much so. And then we work well also with OEM, because they're a component, like if we need resources, we being the field, and then FCC, Fire Communications, and us, we have to provide it.
Okay.
Then we'll just coordinate efforts with them. So it works well.
Awesome.
So far. It's going good.
Good. Thank you. Thank you so much, Chief, for being with us today.
No
I
problem.
think our viewers definitely have learned a lot of information as it relates to the UCLO's office. I would also like to let our viewers know that the Fire Department's annual Women's Day Conference is fast approaching. This year, in 2020, the conference will take place March 6th and 7th at the American Red Cross blood donor site located 700 Spring Garden Street. Along with the Red Cross, we have partnered with the Philadelphia Police Department, the Office of Emergency Management, and of course ourselves, and the Philadelphia Fire Department Foundation. There will be various agencies with resourceful information and workshops as well. So please mark it on your calendar and look for us on Eventbrite. Remember, if you would like to find out more about us on LaSalle TV, you can check out our social media sites. And if you are interested in learning about the Philadelphia Fire Department, visit our Facebook, Twitter, and web pages. Also, check out our Fireman's Hall Museum, located at 147 North 2nd Street in the Old City section of our city. I would like to once again thank our guests for joining us today. I would also like to thank you for watching and tuning in. So, until next time, remember, fire is everyone's fight. Stay safe and remain free from fire.